So today I'm going to be making prawn puri, which is a classic British Indian restaurant starter. Let's focus on the prawn curry to start with, which is going to go on top of puri. Puri is basically a deep fried Indian bread. So let's start. On the left here we have some base gravy. I'm going to pop a recipe up about base gravy in the near future. We have some green peppers that have been finely chopped. We have some garden peas, frozen variety. We have one medium onion, very finely sliced. We have some prawns that have been marinating in lemon juice, a touch of salt and a little bit of turmeric. And let's start at the top here. Here we have some of my friend's chili jam. It's really nice. I like mine really spicy, no matter what I'm cooking in the kitchen. But you don't have to use as much chili as I am using. So next below that we've got some tomato puree, we've got some freshly chopped green chilies, we've got some Indian lime juice. As you can see, this is an Indian lime. It's smaller, it doesn't go as green as key limes, and it's really nice flavour. So we've got some of the juice of that. We've got some mix powder, again similar to the base gravy. A lot of people might be interested in making that, and I'll pop another recipe up in the future about mix powder. We've got 2 pieces of tomatoes. We've got some Himalayan rock salt, add a little bit of quality to it, and we've got some ginger and garlic paste. So first of all, I'm going to add the onions to about 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. So I always find it's important to cut all your onions up exactly the same size so they'll cook evenly. And I'm just going to simmer those down until they begin to brown. So the onions have been sizzling away, they're starting to get brown. So it's now time to add the ginger and garlic paste. And I think this is a good opportunity to add the Himalayan salt. You don't have to use Himalayan salt, but we'd have a touch of something different today. Okay, those are starting to go brown, so stir all that in. And I'm going to reduce the heat now, because I don't want to burn the garlic and ginger. I want to get all that stirred in nicely. And let the garlic and the ginger sizzle to get rid of some of that raw taste. So there you go, it's all together. Next I'm going to add the tomato puree. And again I'll let that sizzle to get rid of the raw taste. Get it well combined with the other ingredients, and you can hear the sizzle coming off because of the water content. You want to reduce it. You want to get rid of that water, basically. Let's turn up the heat a touch for that. So next I'm going to add the chili jam. Give it a good mix. I'm going to turn it down slightly. You can see the caramelisation appearing on the bottom of the pan. You don't want that to burn, just caramelise. There you go, you've got your base for your sauce there, full of flavour. Next, I'm going to add my green chilies. I'll turn that down slightly again. The chilies don't really need to cook. I like them to soften slightly and get some of that acidic flavour into the oil. Next I'm going to add my mix powder. And I'm going to turn the heat right down for this, right down. Really don't want to burn your spices. Just going to let that infuse into the rest of the ingredients. Just for 30-40 seconds or so. And I've got all the ingredients together, they haven't burnt. Next I'm going to add my prawns. Just going to stir that well enough for the spices and other ingredients to coat the prawns. Still on the low heat. Right, so those have been mixed around well. Let's turn the heat right back up. And this is where I'm going to add my first ladle, if you like. This is already measured out, it's about 300 millilitres. I'm going to add about half of that base gravy to that. And I heat up the base gravy before I add it. You don't want to reduce the temperature of your cooking. So that's all mixed in, starting to resemble a curry. I'm going to turn the heat up and we'll come back to that after about 2 minutes. So that's been cooking now for 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. Bubbles are starting to appear, which is a good sign. Shows a lot of the water's evaporated and it's beginning to cook. Now I'm going to add the green peppers and the peas. Some people add the green peppers in with the onions, but these are slightly larger and I want them to be slightly crisp. So let's give that a good stir. And I'm just going to leave that for about 40 seconds to 1 minute for everything to heat up. So that's been cooking for about 45 seconds now. I'm going to throw in my tomatoes, add a little bit more acidity to the dish. And I don't know whether you're pleasantly surprised, but it's horrible watching videos when somebody's scraping the saucepan or the frying pan with an aluminium spoon. It's just horrible. So that's one thing I don't like the noise of. So like nice wooden spoon. It's horrible when you're listening, particularly through headphones. So let's pour in the last part of the base gravy. And just stir that around just to combine it. And we're coming to the start of the end. Now I'm going to add about half a dessert spoon of fresh lime juice. I'm going to give that a very brief stir. So let's simmer that down for about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes now, and we'll come back to it. So that's been sizzling up for about 45 seconds. Next, I'm actually going to use scissors here, and I'm going to cut some fresh coriander into the curry. I really find scissors useful. I'm going to give that a quick stir. Coriander doesn't really need to be cooked through, it's something you can do at the last moment. And one thing I left out from the ingredients earlier is I always add a pinch of freshly ground garam masala. I'm hoping to make a video for that in the near future too. So we'll just let that reduce down for 30 seconds or so, and that's about it. Next time you will see that, it'll be being placed on the puri. So to make the puri, I like to add about 2 cups of atta flour. This is wholemeal, and my secret ingredient is a little bit of, if I can open the jar here. Oh, I don't know who put that lid on. One moment, we'll have to come back to that. So I finally got the lid off the jar. Now I use a little bit of suji, which is basically ground rice, and it gives the puris a nice crisp texture. So I've got about 2 cups of atta flour and a good 2 or 3 heaped dessert spoons of suji. So I've added approximately about half a cup of water to that. You don't want to add too much water, you want a nice stiff dough for puris. So I'll stir that until it's a ball, and then we'll come back to it. So here we have a nice firm ball of puri dough. I've kneaded that for a couple of minutes, and now the important thing is to let it rest. You know, recipes really vary for the amount of time to let it rest. Some say 10 minutes, some say 2 hours. But what's important to note when you're letting puri dough rest, or chapati dough, or any bread dough really, is to let the water content disperse evenly into the flour, because then it'll cook evenly. So I'm going to let that rest with a cloth over it for about 20 minutes. So that's been resting for about 20 minutes now. What I do then is I divide it in half, because this is about enough to make 2 puris, and then I roll it into balls. There's one. And I squidge it right through. I get that dry part on the edge, even though it's been covered with a cloth, into the dough, so it's like new again. So there you go, 2 balls. And what I do at this stage, a little bit of oil, just a tiny little bit. I don't use flour. If you're using, if you're making other types of bread, you know, flour's popular to roll it, but not with puris. So yeah, a little bit of oil, and again, I'm going to let that rest for 5 or 10 minutes. So those have been resting for 5 or 10 minutes now, and let's first make a nice round shape. I've added a little bit more oil to the surface to stop it sticking, and now I'm ready to roll. I like mine about 7-8 inches in diameter. They shouldn't be too thick nor too thin, so about 4 centimeters, sorry, 4 millimeters. I can't edit this because I do it linear. I press pause on the record, so if I do make a mess of what I say, there's not much going back other than doing the whole thing again. So that's fine. Let's a little bit more, a little bit thinner, and I'll do the same to the other one, and then we're ready for frying. So in the meantime, I've had my oil heating up, not too hot, not too cold. What you want to do is probably take a tiny little bit of the dough, just enough to fit between your fingers. Drop it in, and if it starts bubbling straight away, your oil's about ready. You don't want it too hot, you don't want them to burn. And something I didn't mention, always try and roll your puris out very, very evenly, so they cook evenly. So now we've got our oil ready, so let's drop one of the puris in. So the resting will allow it'll puff up straight away, and really helps to have a slotted spoon. So nice fresh oil, you can see all that bubbling, and you'll see bubbles emerge. Press very lightly, press those bubbles down with a slotted spoon. It will make the steam within the bread go to other places and it will cook more evenly. So this is the tricky bit. Push it down. I think we're ready to do the other side. Not quite. Give it another 30 seconds or so. So keep pressing down. A little bit longer. Push that air out. Do it gently. You don't want to make a big hole in your puri. It'll fill with oil and you'll definitely need to go for a couple of mile jog. Right, that's definitely ready to turn over. And do the same on the other side. Okay, so obviously repeat the process with the other puri. And the next will be about the serving. So finally, the last bit is when it all comes together. I wish I had one of those typical Indian restaurant plates with the flowers round, but I don't, so a plain plate will have to do. So plonk your puri in the middle and cover it with the prawn curry. And then finally you want to add, typically in India they will use limes and red onion to garnish, so let's put a little bit of that on. A little bit of cucumber in this case as well, give it some great colour, make it look summery. Not much of a summer, but you're going to make the most of it. Half an Indian lime, a tomato, and let's plonk a little bit of chilli on the top. And finally, garnish with a little bit of coriander. And there you have it. Classic British Indian restaurant prawn puri.